Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pokemon Crystal Full Item Randomizer Tournament. Today's match begins Vicendithas versus NooTzin. Alright, the runners will get started here shortly, but before they do, let me just give a quick explanation of what we're going to be seeing today. Today, the runners will need to collect all 16 badges in order to reach, or in order to be able to fight Red at the top of Mount Silver. They'll also need to collect the 3 Pokegear parts, as well as some H-Gems in order to get into Pallet Town so they can talk to Professor Oak, since that's what's going to trigger Red to appear at the top of Mount Silver. The thing is that all of the items, including the badges and the Pokegear parts, are going to be shuffled amongst each other. So you can find a badge on the ground in the Pokeball, or you can find a gym leader and they won't give you anything important. Additionally, all the Pokemon locations as well as their movesets will be randomized. So we'll be in for a lot of fun today, and it looks like the runners are just about to start. Seeing a slight bit of strategy here with between the runners. Vice is setting it for daytime, whereas NooTzin setting it for nighttime. There is slight differences here and there with the daytime and nighttime. In particular, there's a couple of items you can grab during the nighttime, as well as some higher level encounters that you can only encounter during the nighttime. Alright, let's take a look at what our starters are going to be. Ampharos, pretty powerful, kind of slow. Nidorina, not the greatest. And we have Lickitung, also decent, but not something you necessarily would like to run. And it seems like both runners will be picking Ampharos. It is a very solid attacker, as well as having pretty decent defensive stats. That's a very interesting moveset. And it looks like the runners will be grabbing the Glacier Badge here. Yeah, High Jump Kick, Karate Chop, Mega Drain, Ice Punch. So definitely have good fighting moves, at least. And the Ice Punch, ooh, and I also saw an Ice Beam TM there as well. Unfortunately, you're seeing kind of the problem with Ampharos here. It's unable to run away from this Crobat. It is much, much faster than it. Or rather, the Crobat being faster than the Ampharos, for clarity. But he is able to get a level off, and that's a Raichu, yet another fast Pokemon that I imagine Ampharos may struggle to get away from. Luckily, looks like Newt was able to get away. Unfortunately, both runners getting several encounters here. Raichu and Crobat, two of the faster Pokemon in the game. Something we implement for these runs is something called Better Early Wilds, which makes it where all of the wild Pokemon below level 10 will be fully evolved. This helps the runners start off getting a main. That's why you're seeing all of these fully evolved Pokemon here. Unfortunately, both runners just getting encounter after encounter. Very unlucky, but Vice is now through. Will be going into the shop, I imagine. Vice is now definitely aware of that Ice Beam TM. That will come in useful later if and when they decide to main swap, or when they decide to stick with a main. Oyster's a decent problem. The problem with it is it has such low special defense. It will crumble like paper to something like a thunderbolt. But it is pretty good defensively, or it's actually very, very good defensively, and it's has an okay speed and has a decent attacking stats. And it looks like NooTzin is catching a Hitmonlee here. Hitmonlee, pretty good physical attack, great special defense. Probably one of the better Hitmons to be running. It's a little slower though. There's a Blissey for Vice. That'll potentially help give that Ampharos some experience, which would be pretty nice if you're deciding to stick with it for the time being. Unfortunately, getting a freeze from Tri-Attack, that is very sad to see. But it does defrost, he is able to get rid of it, and he's going to get a bunch of experience for this. It looks like Newt is also going to be taking out this Blissey here. The Blissey has Dig. Oh, that kind of changes things. NooTzin may want to end up catching this, yeah, because catching the Blissey with Dig would allow him to be able to use Dig out in the field. He can save money on escape ropes. Now, there seems to be a slight bit of delay going on. I'm not sure. Yeah, alright, so Vice is through the trainer battle. Looks like Newt is about to start the trainer battle now. Yeah, this Ampharos is plenty good enough to get through this one trainer. We may still have the chance to see a main swap here before going into Violet City. Looks like Vice decides to take out the Firo. That Ampharos being level 9 now, actually, now that I think about it, it's very possible that Vice will decide to just stick with the Ampharos for now. It is much higher level than anything else in the surrounding area. That's partially thanks to the fact that Vice defeated the Blissey, whereas NooTzin, I believe he did successfully catch the Blissey, which will help him as far as being able to dig out of places without needing escape ropes. That'll definitely save money in the long run. Looks like both runners are going into Dark Cave to grab an item here. This item will be out of logic, but I don't think it was a key item. I wasn't able to catch it on Vice's side. Alright, so we have Vice doing a little shopping trip. Looks like he will be going over towards the Ruins of Alf escape rope chamber before trying to go into Sprout Tower or into Faulkner. This is a potentially good move. You can go on ahead and get these 4 items here. At worst, you have some stuff to sell, but at best, you could find something like the Squirt Bottle, which can very much change your game plan for the rest of the run. Let's see what he gets here in the escape rope chamber. Okay, that is HMO5 for Flash. And the Rainbow Wing. Wow. Alright, so Right now, you can't really use the HM for Flash. You need the Zephyr badge to be able to get it. But that being said, getting that Rainbow Wing is half of 10 tower access. Looks like Noot will also be grabbing these items as well. Yeah, so right now, individually, these items don't really give any progress, but having half a flash means that you're one item away from the flash places, such as the Dark Caves and the Flash Chamber, potentially being in Logic. You also have half the Rainbow Wing, or you have the Rainbow Wing, which is half the access to 10 Tower. So we may be seeing an early Morty. At this point, both runners are roughly in the same spot here. Looks like NooTzin is about to go into the battle that Vice is currently about to finish up. So only about one battle behind. The main difference here is that his Vice's Ampharos is level 10, whereas Noot's is, I believe, level 6 or 7. For these fights, it's not going to make that big of a difference, but once you get up towards the Elder Lee fight, and potentially also the Trainers in Faulkner's Gem, there may be a bit of a difference in damage output between the two Ampharos, and that could cause Noot to have a little bit of a more struggle on these fights. And Vice gets the Fog Badge here in the Sprout Tower. Fog Badge is half of your access to Surf. You also need the Surf HM, but if they are able to grab Surf pretty soon, that's actually really big. It opens up a lot of checks, as well as much higher level Pokemon around the 20s. Alright, and Noot grabs his Fog Badge. And Vice, now through the two battles there, is going to be able to grab this item as well as do the Elder Lee fight. This fight can be one of the scarier fights in the early game, having 3 Pokemon, one of them being level 10. So if your Pokemon's not sufficiently leveled or doesn't have a good moveset, this can be a little bit of a struggle. Vice, I believe, just saved before the fight, which is usually a good strat to do in case the fight goes sideways. Starting out with a Snorlax, that looks like something prime for a high jump kick or a karate chop. Yeah, that I think that 3-level advantage that Ampharos has, or Vice's Ampharos has over NooTzin's, is going to be kind of a difference here, or a difference maker here for how efficiently they can get through this fight. NooTzin teaching Mega Kick over Karate Chop. Mega Kick is a pretty powerful, or relatively powerful, normal type move, but it has pretty low accuracy. So it's not necessarily the best move, but, you know, it does have a little bit of power behind it. I forget what exactly its power is in this generation, as it changes from generation to generation. Vice is through the fight and gets a protein, so doesn't look like there were any other important items here in the Sprout Tower. He will be exiting and moving on to Greater Pastures, particularly Faulkner, but it looks like he's poisoned. It looks like he's going to need to take a quick trip to the Pokemon Center before he attempts to fight Faulkner. Let's see if Noot has the same problems as the other Ampharos had here. Looks like he might struggle a little bit harder. That high jump kick making quick work of the Snorlax as Vice takes down the Spearow. What kind of rando? A Spearow in the first gym? What? Oh yes, that Ice Punch is going to be very good against that Gligar, 4 times weak to it. Newt is finished with the elderly fight, grabbing that protein. He's going to be able to get out of there and move on to Faulkner. Now, in order to exit Violet City, they do need to defeat Faulkner and grab the egg from the Pokemon Center. So even if Faulkner does not give any key items, this fight at this point is absolutely required, as they did not grab the Squirt Bottle or any other access to get out of Violet City. Yeah, Vice having absolutely no problems against Faulkner. Looks like Newt has a bit of low health, but that's nothing you can't heal away. And that is Surf. Like I was saying before, getting that very early Surf will allow them to main switch, and it also opens up quite a bit of checks. Unfortunately, a lot of those checks will require backtracking. There's one in Cherry Grove, as well as a couple over to the east of New Barktown. If they want to grab those checks now, could save them the hassle later if the progress is back there. So let's see what Vice decides to do now that he has Surf. The first thing he's going to do is going to grab this item by the gym. Ooh, Typhlosion with Earthquake. That's going to deal a lot of damage to the Ampharos. Ooh, the Blissey using Dig. Very lucky that the Typhlosion did not try to use Earthquake after that, or that Blissey would have been gone. Unfortunately, looks like the Blissey is going down anyway. Alright, that's a level 20 Growlithe. That's actually not a terrible thing to try to switch to. Arcanine's a very good Pokemon, and you can actually grab a Firestone here without having to do any more fights. Unfortunately, hitting the crit. I'm not sure if Vice was actually trying to catch the Growlithe, but that crit definitely made it where he couldn't. Alright, NooTzin taking his safety save for the Faulkner fight. And it looks like Vice will be backtracking for those Surf checks. This is the best time to do it, really. You're already fairly close being next to Violet, and you cannot risk the progress, such as the pass or the Squirt Bottle, being all the way back here. If you go all the way to Goldenrod and realize, oh, I don't have a way out, you will have to take the long way around to get back here. And you could save reset. If there's nothing back here, you can just reset back, and it's very little time lost there. That is the Hive Badge. Alright, grabbing the Hive Badge there. Again, that's half of Cut. Half of the Cut access, and while they can't use it yet, the Hive Badge is required to complete the game, as it's one of the 16 badges, so that's pretty good to keep and not reset. Especially since you might grab the HM for Cut later on, and the progress be behind there, so you definitely want to keep that around. Like NooTzin will also be grabbing this item up here. Getting a Surf encounter. Ooh, it's an Ursaring. Ursaring is one of the better physical attackers in the game. Looks like NooTzin will not be electing to catch that at the moment. Meanwhile, Vice decides to catch a level 2 Nidoqueen. This is definitely not going to be a main switch, but it is going to be more than likely an HM friend, as you do need a couple of Pokemon to carry the weight of all the field moves that you have to use throughout the run. It's good to go on ahead and catch a Pokemon here while you have the chance. Fortunately, it does seem like Vice is struggling just a little bit to catch this. It is a 1 in 3 at full health to catch any of the Pokemon in this game. We've altered the catch rate so that it's a little bit easier, but as you can see, 1 in 3 is not guaranteed, and the Samphros is a little too strong to weaken it, being like over 10 levels higher. But he does end up catching it, luckily for him, and it looks like NooTzin will be collecting the egg here. That's interesting to me. Vice caught the Nidoqueen, but he didn't save. There's a good chance he may reset the Nidoqueen away. And it looks like NooTzin is continuing on without backtracking. That's at least going to make it where he does not pick up the Hive badge. That being said, there is a chance that the progress is this way, and you can always fly back to grab the Hive badge later on. Alright, Vice just has one more item to pick up here in Tojo Falls before we can make a determination whether or not it is required to go back here, at least for the time being. Unfortunately, you can't repel Pokemon that are higher level than you, so he will be getting all these encounters. Not necessarily a bad thing if he finds a Pokemon he wants to switch to, but that does not seem to be what's been happening lately. And yeah, he does reset away. There's not any required items this way, so it looks like he actually will be resetting that Nidoqueen away. There's that Typhlosion that we saw earlier in the gym. It has Earthquake, so... unfortunate. He tried to catch it for to use as an HM friend. Unfortunately, getting roared away. We see NooTzin being very careful around the spinner here. I think it's good to always play it a little bit safe. Even if you take a little bit longer to get around the spinner, as long as you don't get hit by it, you are saving time. Alright, and Newt has found the mineral badge here in Union Cave. Alright, so at this point, Vice and NooTzin are essentially going to be checking all of the same checks. Vice very closely following Newt. The main difference here is that Vice does have the Hive badge, which could make a difference later on if the progress is locked behind Cut, and we do find Cut somewhere else along the way towards Goldenrod. Looks like Newt encountered a Suicune here with Hydro Pump. Very scary. He is able to run away with the Blissey, but that's a little bit sketchy. Blissey, not the highest speed stat. Looks like he will be digging out so that he can use the Pokemon Center. Again, better safe than sorry. Actually looks like he's going to just be going back in. That is the mineral badge for Vice. Unfortunately, how repelling works, it is based on the highest level Pokemon that is first up in your party that is alive. So if you have a fainted Pokemon that is higher level before your Pokemon that is lower level, it's not going to work. It has to be the Pokemon you send out in battle when you start the battle needs to be higher level. So unfortunately, NooTzin taking a quick wipe there, but luckily it takes them straight back to the nearest Pokemon Center that he went into that Pokemon Center in order to grab the Old Rod check. So not too much of a problem. It will cost him a bit of money. Meanwhile, we have Vice here, defeating Dugtrio for some experience. Alright, nothing too useful here in the lower parts of Union Cave. Looks like NooTzin will be doing the Azalea Town checks here, starting with the Slowpoke Well. Ooh, unfortunately, the Ampharos getting burned. Luckily, Ampharos is primarily a special attacker. A burn will half your attack, the damage you deal from physical moves. So that burn could be devastating for a physical mon, but since Ampharos is special, won't be too much of a problem. Vice, unfortunately, hitting the spinner here. Yeah, that being said, that high jump kick is going to not deal too much damage because of the burn on Ampharos, and the fact that Clefable is already somewhat of a bulky Pokemon. That being said, Ampharos is pretty bulky too. That dig is not going to do a lot of damage, even if it is super effective. And it looks like NooTzin is able to get through the Clefable there. Ooh, but that is not what you want to see. Suicune, another bulky Pokemon, and something you don't really have the coverage for. You do have Mega Drain, but Mega Drain is not that powerful of a move, whereas Hydro Pump very much is coming from the Suicune. Very lucky Hydro Pump miss there for NooTzin. He's able to get through the battle and get that nice experience from the Suicune. Yeah, NooTzin's only halfway through the well. He's struggling a little bit, electing to heal off that burn. That's a very good idea. That burn is, at the very least, is going to be passive damage. And looks like he decides to use some HP ups on the Ampharos, give it a little bit more of that health stat that, you only need 1 HP to win. As long as you have 1 HP, your Pokemon is in there, and every little bit of HP will help with that. Yeah, but as you can see, the level gap between the mains are slowly closing up here. Whereas Vice is level 16, NooTzin's level 15. Not too much of a difference there. That being said, missing a high jump kick is going to hurt for the Ampharos. Down to 1 HP. Looks like those HP ups did potentially help a little bit. Alright, and it looks like, thanks to that full restore, Newt is doing pretty well now against these Rockets. Just has one level 14 Pokemon to go, and he'll have access to the rest of the checks in Azalea Town. Ooh, Magnitude. It will hurt a little bit, but coming from a Ferret, not too much. Again, one of the things, despite Ampharos' very low speed, one of the things it does have going for it is its bulk. It is a pretty bulky Pokemon, and so those ground-type moves coming from not too great physical attackers, it will be able to take it like a champ. That is the card key for NooTzin. The card key will allow access to the upper floors of the radio tower once the Rockets invade it after getting 7 badges. Right now they're only at 3 badges. Well, at least NooTzin is. Vice does have that extra Hive badge, so he's at 4 badges. Alright, and looks like Vice is now through the well. He will be collecting that card key very shortly. Ooh, unfortunately, Ampharos is paralyzed here. Won't make much of a difference to its speed. It's already pretty slow, but missing a turn every now and again does feel kind of bad. Alright, and that is the pass for NooTzin. We could just take this Ampharos and throw it away. We now have access to mains not only on Cycling Road, but also in the Vermilion Harbor. Yeah, the runners here can get up to the level 39s, but more likely, just in the high 30s. That's going to be a big deal for NooTzin, as he is able to go on ahead and grab those mains as soon as he wants to. It looks like he will be doing this check really quick. At this point, it's probably a good idea to just go on ahead and grab all the checks you can while you're in the area, as they're still missing both parts of Fly. And so returning to these places may be painful if Fly... Yeah, if Fly is not available in the later parts of the game. Say if part of Fly is on Bugsy, you will have to backtrack here later on. And to answer in chat, our objective is to go fast, and Ampharos is pretty slow. That being said, you can always repurpose your mains into HM friends. You don't have to get rid of them. They can still help you out along the journey. Alright, looks like NooTzin is going back to take a heal. Alright, looks like Vice is trying to make it through the rival fight here. Struggling just a little bit, but is now through. Alright. Meanwhile, NooTzin is now able to face Morty. Or, I'm sorry, not Morty, Bugsy. Morty is a different scam. Bugsy in himself is also a scam. And there's the pass for Vice. He can now switch off of the Ampharos if he wants to. Decides to switch out the item on Ampharos to the Quick Claw. That's pretty good. Being able to get that random priority move could definitely make the difference for a slower Pokemon like Ampharos. And it looks like NooTzin is making his way through Bugsy. He is finished. Unfortunately, no required items on Bugsy for either runner here. It looks like as Vice makes it through the Alex Forest, NooTzin is backtracking a bit into the basement of Union Cave. To answer the question in chat, the badge, what it does, when you collect a badge, you get a boost to the power of moves of that type. So you do get a boost. For instance, having the fog badge will boost the power of ghost type moves. I believe certain badges also give just a general boost to one of your stats. Certain badges, I don't know off the top of my head which ones give what stats, but I'm sure there is documentation out there that you can look into, or I can look into later on. And there's the radio card for Vice. That is 1/3 of the Pokegear. Now that they have the pass, Vice, after collecting the other two parts of the Pokegear, will be able to collect the level 50 Snorlax. That is randomized. It can be any Pokemon. Alright, we have Vice here doing a quick shopping trip. Gonna be probably checking out the TMs in the mart. That is a Zap Cannon TM. Another move that may paralyze. Let's see if he decides to get that one as well. He does. It looks like he grabbed a headbutt TM, I think. Sorry, my stream is buffering just a little bit. I was unable to see exactly what TM he bought there. Okay, so he did buy Headbutt. Thank you. It looked like he did, but I wasn't sure if it was Headbutt or the other move that can paralyze. Looks like both runners here will be checking the bike shop, getting that TM49. I believe Vice did save beforehand, so if TM49 is nothing you want to see, but it does look like he will be keeping the Solar Beam TM for the time being. Alright, we have Vice checking out the radio tower. Just a couple of checks here you can get as soon as you enter Goldenrod. Meanwhile, NooTzin is going to be checking the underground. Well, that is the Plains badge for Vice. A very convenient time to get it too, as there is a check right next to the gym in the flower shop, where if you show her the Plain badge, she will give you an item. Looks like Vice is going to be taking a quick trip into the Pokemon Center here as NooTzin answers the quiz. Unfortunately, getting an answer wrong. That can happen sometimes just a slip up on the input. But he will be collecting that Plains badge pretty soon. Now let's see if the Plains badge gives anything here. A Max Elixir, while not a key item, Max Elixir does fully restore the PP for all the moves of one Pokemon. And that can be very useful, especially later in the game, where you want to cut down as much as you can on the trips to the Pokemon Center, as they take a bit of time. Restoring PP using an item can be very, very quick. Alright, looks like NooTzin will be collecting the max elixir here as well. Alright, and it looks like Vice is going to attempt to fight Whitney before main switching. I mean, it's very possible that his main will be able to do it just fine. But it's interesting to see if NooTzin's going to take a similar approach to Whitney, or if he's going to go straight to Kanto and try to switch off to a new main. Ooh, unfortunately, the Poliwhirl faster than the Ampharos is going to put it to sleep. This could cause this battle in general could be trouble for the Ampharos, having that very slow speed stat. It looks like it is a speed tie, though. Alright, and Vice is facing off against Whitney. The Dugtrio is starting off with Kinesis. That may be a little bit sketchy for Vice, as Kinesis lowers the accuracy of moves. So there's a chance that we could see a miss here. It looks like Vice is able to one-shot both Pokemon. Be a quick battle against Whitney. I honestly think the trainer before Whitney was more difficult than the Whitney battle herself. That being said, Whitney not giving any key items. Alright, Vice will be grabbing the Kenya here. I wonder if we'll get a chance to see what the Kenya is before it gets turned in. Kenya is always an interesting Pokemon to consider for a main swap. It does get that boosted experience as if it's a traded Pokemon. It does start out at level 10, which is a little bit lower than what you'd want to run at this point. But if it's a really, really good Pokemon, it can catch up pretty quickly. To answer the question in chat, who is ahead? At this point, it is hard to say. They are pretty neck and neck. They are checking the same things pretty much one after another. But as far as the lead goes, Vice did go back for that Hive badge, which does put him at a little bit of an advantage here, considering that A, it's a badge lead, and B, if there is something important behind Cut, say Fly access is behind Cut, then NooTzin will be in a lot of trouble. He'll have to go all the way back to Cherry Grove in order to get the Hive badge, in order to be able to use Cut to get Fly. So that could be a problem for NooTzin. But that's right now it's hypothetical. We don't know what's happening though. Thank you for catching that. Yeah, NooTzin does have the plain badge. Yeah, so right now the only real difference between the runners here is that Vice went back for the Hive badge, whereas NooTzin did not. Whether or not that pays off in the long run is difficult to say. As once NooTzin is able to get both parts of Fly, he can just fly back to Cherry Grove and get the Hive badge there, and it'll be. It would actually save time over Vice getting the Hive badge, having to travel there by bike. It looks like Vice is in Kanto now. He's going to be able to do a lot of quick checks here around Saffron City. All right, and Vice grabbing the Cascade badge. Yes, Vice is in Kanto, the new Disney movie coming out, or that just came out. Looks like NooTzin will also be in Kanto. That is the basement key for Vice. Yeah, should not be too long before NooTzin also grabs these items. And strength. Wow. Saffron City has a lot of items here. Alright, Vice checking the president of the Pokemon fan club, only getting an escape rope for now. At this point, since they have Surf, Surge is in logic. Surge, having 5 Pokemon in the 40s, maybe don't want to fight that just yet. And Vice deciding to pick up the Leftovers. Leftovers is very good passive healing, and it helps save up on healing items throughout the run. Alright, now Vice has collected all the important items, NooTzin has collected all the important items Vice just got through their trip in Saffron City. We see Vice here selling some TMs. He has some solid ones. Rock Slide, Ice Beam. Right, and it looks like NooTzin will be looking at these surf encounters here in Vermilion City. Again, can get up a Pokemon in the late 30s in levels. Ooh, a Paris. That is one you probably don't want to run. But there are other encounter slots here, so NooTzin can keep looking. Unfortunately, seems like Paris is the common slot. You're going to be seeing a lot of them. Meanwhile, Vice teaching Razor Leaf to the Ampharos. And Vice getting that call from the bike shop owner. And it looks like NooTzin is deciding to go back into Johto for the time being, while Vice decides to check the encounters on Cycling Road. Starting off, we have a Togetic. Togetic, not necessarily a Pokemon you want to run. It's okay, but in the long term, may be a little bit difficult. He does decide to catch it, though. Alright, NooTzin going back in to fight Whitney. As we saw, the Poliwhirl is a little bit scarier than the other Pokemon on Whitney. Charmeleon is a pretty good Pokemon. It will evolve into Charizard in just a few levels. So very much something you could consider running, especially if you have moves for it, which, I mean, you do have Ice Beam, you do have Surf, and there might be a couple other TMs as well that I missed that could be good to run on it. And it looks like Vice is just holding on to those Pokemon for now, hasn't decided on a main swap yet. Interestingly, Vice also deciding to go back to Johto. There's still a good number of checks in Kanto that they could be checking, so I'm curious to see what they're going to decide to do in Johto. And it looks like NooTzin is making his way over towards the Soft Sand Girls. And it looks like Vice is deciding to commit to the Ampharos, teaching it Ice Beam. Both runners, for the time being, deciding to just stick with the Ampharos. It is a bit on the slower side, so it's going to struggle against these faster Pokemon like Dugtrio. Ooh, yeah, that is painful. A critical double-edge stab from the Dugtrio. Meanwhile, NooTzin deciding to abandon the Soft Sand Girls and is going to be backtracking. This could be NooTzin's chance to go grab Cut. We'll also be turning in the Kenya, I can imagine. I'm sorry, rather, NooTzin's chance to go grab the Hive Badge. Cut has not been found yet. Now that being said, something I seem to have overlooked is that they have both Strength and Surf access, so they are able to actually check quite a few things on the way back towards Violet, such as the Slowpoke Chamber here, as well as the Waterstone Chamber in Union Cave. Yeah, in that case, this backtrack may not be the worst idea. I was kind of questioning before because I didn't realize they had strength and were able to check several of these checks on the way back. Ooh, unfortunate for NooTzin, hitting the optional there. And that is a self-destruct from the Meowth, almost taking out the Ampharos. That is... oof. Yeah, stab self-destruct, even coming from a Meowth of all things. It's going to hurt. Yeah, this Hitmonlee, 5 levels higher than the Ampharos, and using Aeroblast while being a not very effective move, has a high crit chance and also uses Hitmonlee's very strong physical attack. Meanwhile, Hitmonlee has very high special defense as well, so pretty bulky, not able to easily be taken out by the Ampharos. And we have NooTzin checking. There it is. There is the Zephyr badge. This is very nice for NooTzin here, as grabbing the Zephyr badge there means that he can check the flash chamber right beside the Waterstone chamber in a very efficient manner. Yeah, this is exactly what you want to see if you're coming to the Waterstone chamber right now. You want to see that flash access immediately so that you don't have to make a second trip back here at some point later in the run. Alright, that is the Storm badge. That is half of the fly access in the flash chamber. That will also be the 7th badge for NooTzin, unlocking the radio tower as a place of interest. Vice will be checking out the Waterstone chamber here, grabbing the Zephyr badge, and that will be his 7th badge. Now what NooTzin really wants to see here is that Fly HM pop up on the Kenya check. If that happens, he will have a very clean return to Cherry Grove City. Unfortunately, not seeing that. And it looks like he won't be making the backtrack to Cherry Grove to grab that Hive badge just yet. Meanwhile, Vice grabs the Zephyr badge. We'll be getting a phone call letting him know that the Rockets have invaded the radio tower, and he'll be able to check out the flash chamber, get that Storm badge. Alright, and that is the Storm badge. So again, really the only big difference between the runners right now, they're all checking essentially the same checks very close to each other. The main difference being that Vice actually went back to Cherry Grove and did the surf check there, got the Hive badge. which Newt will have to do at some point. That being said, if they do collect Fly before then, he will not have to bike all the way there and can save some time by just flying back. Alright, and NooTzin has made it back into Goldenrod City. Vice is about halfway there, needing to get through the cave here and through Azalea Town and then into Ilex Forest. NooTzin will get the opportunity to check the Kenya check potentially, but he decides instead to go straight into the radio tower. And it looks like Vice decides to check the Kenya check real quick first. It's just a potion. So it looks like there is a good chance of the progress being up in the radio tower. Unfortunately, the Ampharos going down to the Raikou there. Luckily, he did enter the Pokemon Center before going in there, so he will get a chance to just go straight back to Goldenrod, doesn't have to backtrack or anything. Looks like NooTzin deciding to abandon the radio tower for now and going to Canada. It's going to be Unfortunately, as much as I like Ampharos as a Pokemon, it does seem to be struggling quite a bit here. Right, it looks like NooTzin will be taking the plunge onto Cycling Road to see what he can find there. Meanwhile, Vice still making his way up the tower, and probably will be for a while. There's an Octillery. I do like Octillery. Not the best Pokemon to run, but it's just one of my personal favorites. It was actually the first Pokemon I ever ran in an item rando, which is why I have a particular attachment to it. And it looks like NooTzin finds the Charmeleon, this one level 31. NooTzin deciding to catch it, may potentially main swap to it, which wouldn't be a bad idea. It is 9 levels higher, and just a bit, I believe 5 levels away from evolving. Yeah, let's see the moveset on the Charmeleon. Ooh, not great. Metal Claw really the only usable move there, and it's not even that great. But he looks like he will be teaching moves to it, committing to the Charmeleon here. Something that NooTzin could possibly do. He could either try to take down the radio rockets with the Charmeleon. He may also try to do, say, the Nugget Hedge Maze to get some experience. The Pokemon there are a little bit higher leveled. Yeah, it looks like NooTzin will be returning to Kanto, or Johto rather. Probably will be trying out the radio rockets again with the Charmeleon this time. Hopefully able to gain some levels, evolve it into Charizard soon. Once that thing becomes Charizard, it'll be pretty good. It has a decent moveset now that you taught it Surf, Ice Beam, and I believe Rock Slide as well. Oh, wouldn't that be nice? The Ampharos took out the Ho-Oh and learned Rock Throw. Or was trying to learn Rock Throw. That would have been nice to have just a few seconds ago. Ooh, Sandstorm from the Unknown. One of the few animations that'll play, even if you turn animations off, is the weather for Sandstorm. And not only does it damage your Pokemon, which is annoying, but you have to watch it twice per Pokemon. Or you have to watch it twice, rather, one for each Pokemon on the field, unless one of the Pokemon are Rock, Steel, or Ground type. So very much a time waster, if nothing else, for the Sandstorm. It looks like the Charmeleon just has Surf and Ice Beam. Didn't teach Rock Slide to it yet. Main thing here, though, is Charmeleon has a much faster speed stat than the Ampharos, as it's going to make these battles a bit more tolerable. Yeah, Vice facing a level 36 Tyranitar here. That's a bit scary. Tyranitar has a base 130 attack stat. Could cause some trouble. Ooh, and that is Stab Ancient Power. That's gonna hurt. Yeah, Vice is really going to want to get a critical on that Razor Leaf. At this point, yeah, it's just going to keep stalling out with Morning Sun. A very close fight, but the Tyranitar is down, and the Ampharos made it through. Ooh, that Snorlax has Mega Horn over on NooTzin's side. It's a very strong move, especially coming from a Snorlax. Looks like NooTzin is deciding to go back and heal. I believe the Charmeleon got knocked out, so that is necessary in order to get the experience for the Charmeleon. Meanwhile, Vice, saving before this fight, there's just two more fights left in the Rocket Tower before he has access to 4 checks, which could very much determine where Vice decides to go next. He may also decide to go on ahead and do the False Director while he's here. It's one fight with 6 Pokemon for 1 check. So pretty slow, but, you know, might as well do it while you're here. Overall, if there's one word that I could use to describe the run, or this ROM, for both of the runners, it would be, it's a struggle. Unfortunately, not being able to find any really, really good mains. This Charmeleon could end up being something decent later on, but Charmeleon itself is a little underwhelming. The Ampharos, just really slow, constantly getting outsped, and it's causing a lot of problems. there's the Ho-Oh on NooTzin's side. Ho-Oh has a base special defense of 154, so even with super effective moves that are special, it's going to take them pretty well. But the Charmeleon, with that level advantage, is able to two-shot the Ho-Oh. That is very nice to see for NooTzin. And Vice is through the rocket tower, or the radio rocket tower, and gets a nugget. We will see if any of the other items here are good. If not, I'm sure Vice is going to feel not too great about spending all that time there for no payoff. Yeah, just one item left to check here before we can determine that this, at least the card key, was not the immediate progress, and that seems to be the case. That being said, we do have the basement key. We can still check the items down there without having to do a bunch of fights, so this may not be a huge time waste after all. And, you know, even if it ends up being no items here, at least they get the experience on their respective mains. That could help them with the Kanto gym fights that they may need to do in order to progress in the ROM. Alright, and NooTzin is now going to have to face this level 36 Tyranitar. Let's see how he handles it. Ooh, yeah, that stab Ancient Power is going to be a very quick one-shot against the Charmeleon, whereas the Surf coming from the Charmeleon is not going to deal too much damage to the Tyranitar. This could be a big problem for NooTzin. He is unable to take out the Tyranitar with either of his Pokemon here. He will have to revive. And it does not appear that he has a revive, so it looks like this is going to be a wipe for NooTzin. That is unfortunate to see. That Tyranitar is pretty nasty. Meanwhile, we have the Snorlax with the Mirror Coat taking out the Ampharos. Yeah, Vice having a bit of trouble with the False Director. Very rarely do you see the False Director put up a fight, but when he does, man, it is kind of rough because he has 6 Pokemon. Looks like, oh, the egg is hatching for NooTzin. Let's see what we have. Alright, welcome to the World Houndour. Ooh, and it looks like that's a wipe. Oh, never mind. He did revive. Yeah, we have a baby hot dog. That is a Meep Meep. Unfortunately, missing the Ice Beam because of that, believe there was a Mud Slap earlier. That lowers accuracy. If this last Pokemon proves to be trouble, it's a Kakuna. I think he'll be fine. Alright, and Vice is through the False Director. Only a TM. Could be a good move, though. We will check what that is, and it is Attract. Unfortunate. Attract can be a very annoying move when used against you, but it's not a great move to use against your opponent. It's just not reliable enough. Meanwhile, NooTzin is trying to take out this Tyranitar, still struggling, but hopefully we'll be able to take it out with this Surf here, and it does go down. This Charmeleon, now level 34, will very soon turn into a Charizard. Electing to teach Ember, he has no other really good moves other than Surf and Ice Beam, so that Stab Ember, at the very least, is something to put on the Charmeleon. Alright, and Vice is making his way down to the basement. He will have to do this fight here. To answer the question, Vice is primarily running the Ampharos. And, oh, it looks like NooTzin decided to Rare Candy up the Charmeleon into a Charizard. I think that is a fantastic idea. Will give him a lot easier time. And is trying to learn Hyper Fang. Hyper Fang, a very decent physical attack for the Charizard. Yeah, so I would say at this point, NooTzin definitely has the better main. Yeah, so NooTzin shouldn't have too much problem for the rest of these fights now that he has the Charizard. Meanwhile, Vice is taking on the rival in the Goldenrod basement. Alright, and NooTzin, through the radio tower, can now grab these 4 checks that Vice got earlier. Hey Wingage, so both of the runners have essentially done most of the same stuff. The only real difference here is that Vice went... okay, so there was early Surf around Violet City, and so Vice was able to go back to Cherry Grove and get the Surf check there, which was the Hive badge. Outside of that, the runners have done all the exact same things. Vice is running an Ampharos, which was the starter. Meanwhile, NooTzin did go to Cycling Road, pick up a Charmeleon, and is now a Charizard. Vice also picked up the Charmeleon, but decided not to run it. That is the SS ticket for Vice. Alright, so... on one hand, the SS ticket is our progress into Northern Johto. That being said, we can guarantee, at least for now, until we find the Squirt Bottle, we can assume that the HMO2 for Fly is not going to be in Northern Johto. That may incentivize both runners to stay away from North Johto for the time being. Now, as far as other checks they have left outside of Northern Johto, they can take on Surge, they can take on Sabrina, they can do the Nugget Hedge Maze, and I believe there are few checks towards Lavender Town. Yeah, they can check the Rock Tunnel. They do have Flash access here, so those checks are in Logic, as well as the Fisherman House south of Lavender Town. Outside of that, I think that is all the checks that they have left in Logic, at least in Kanto. looks like Vice will be heading over towards Lavender Town. He is deciding to fight this trainer here so that if he does not get Fly, he is able to make a quick return here without having to save reset. And yes, Wingage, one thing I am a little bit afraid of for NooTzin is that the Fly access is locked behind Cut. If that is the case, NooTzin's going to be searching for quite a while. He will have to backtrack all the way to Cherry Grove in order to get that Hive badge, which I don't see him doing anytime soon. That is unless he decides to do it after doing the basement. Vice did do the 2 Tojo Falls checks that you can access before the waterfall. Neither of them gave any key items. It is just the Cherry Grove Surf check that has the Hive badge on it. They've also both turned in the Kenya and gotten the check for turning in the Kenya in Goldenrod. So they don't, particularly NooTzin, doesn't have a reason to go back towards New Barktown and Cherry Grove anytime soon. Vice has already done the Soft Sand Girls. I don't think it gave anything important on it. Interestingly, NooTzin tried to do the Soft Sand Girls, but was not quite able to get through them and decided to abandon it for the time being. NooTzin is going into the basement where he will pick up the SS ticket, and I believe that was the only key item down there. Meanwhile, there's a very good chance that the Progress and/or Fly will be in Rock Tunnel. Yeah, if the Progress ends up being on Surge, I wish these runners well. Their mains are pretty underleveled. They will probably need to buy X items. Alright, there is Cut. That is very big for Vice. Alright, now Vice has access to the Cut lock checks. That includes the 2... Oh, and there's Fly as well. Alright, so both Cut and Fly are in the Rock Tunnel. That's at least good for NooTzin, knowing that Fly is not locked behind Cut. And it looks like Vice will be going all the way through the Rock Tunnel and going to go to the power plant to talk to the man and unlock the 1 check in Cerulean, as well as the ability to fight Misty if he decides to do the Nugget Hedge Maze. While having Cut is very good for Vice here, since Fly is paired with it, it doesn't really give Vice that much of an advantage over NooTzin, considering that NooTzin can just fly back and get the Hive badge as soon as he gets Fly. It's just a matter of whether NooTzin decides to check Cherry Grove first, once he gets that Fly access. Question in chat, how does early Fly interact with Sabrina? So yes, Sabrina is not in Logic until you get 7 badges, which is the same as the Radio Rockets, so you can know once you get the phone call for the Radio Rockets, Sabrina is also in Logic. If you don't have Fly and you get that phone call for the Radio Rockets, then there is a chance that either Fly or the Storm badge can be on Sabrina. Alright, NooTzin picked up the SS ticket there. Alright, and Vice is doing some of these cut checks here. Looks like he is flying to Vermilion. He may be deciding to go on ahead and take the boat over to North Johto. And it looks like NooTzin will be heading over towards Kanto as well, following right behind Vice. Let's see if he decides to go into Rock Tunnel, grab that Cut HM and the Fly HM. Yeah, it looks like NooTzin is heading over towards Lavender Town. Yeah, NooTzin can save a little bit of time here if he decides to go into Rock Tunnel first. He decides to check out this check, the Fisherman check first. If he were to grab that... Oh wait, never mind. He still needs the Hive badge, so unfortunately he wouldn't be able to do the cut checks just yet if he decided to do that first. Ooh, unfortunate for Vice, walking up just a little bit too far and hitting that optional. Meanwhile, NooTzin is entering the Rock Tunnel now, where he will collect the HM for Cut as well as the HM for Fly. Unfortunately, Vice taking a little bit of a time loss there with the Jinx Cry as well on the optional. Alright, the one check on the boat does not give a key item, but now Vice has access to North Johto, which will have a lot of checks just sitting there waiting for him. Now that he has both parts of Fly, he doesn't need to hold off on going to North Johto anymore. He can go on ahead and just try to get as many of these checks done as he wants. He may decide to either get all the quick checks first, or he may decide to just fully complete an area before leaving it. Either way, he will be getting more checks going this way than he would staying in Kanto at this point. That is the Waterfall HM. He won't be able to use it quite yet. We don't have the Rising Badge, but once he gets the Rising Badge, he will be able to do a full clear of Mount Mortar, which has a lot of checks behind it. NooTzin, now teaching Fly, will be able to backtrack to Cherry Grove if he decides to go there first and grab the Hive badge without much of a time loss there. Looks like he's deciding where to go. He hasn't fully made up his mind. It looks like he will be going into Vermilion City for the time being. Yeah, looks like he is also deciding to take the boat first. Meanwhile, Vice, deciding not to do the lighthouse quite yet, looks like he's probably going to decide to do some of these quicker checks before committing to a location for a set amount of time. That being said, he does decide to go on ahead and do the Kimono Girls, get them out of the way. It is 5 quick fights, should only take a minute or two, and can get a check that some runners decide to hold off until later. Yeah, at this point in the run, the Ampharos being level 37 should still be able to outspeed most or all of the Pokemon that it encounters throughout North Johto. These Pokemon being in the high teens, into the 20s, and maybe a couple of Pokemon approaching level 30, but Ampharos should be perfectly fine here. Oh, it looks like NooTzin also hitting the same optional that Vice hit earlier. Alright, Vice is on the last Kimono Girls. We'll be able to pick up the check here in just a minute. An Espeon on the Kimono Girls? What kind of rando? Alright, and today the Kimono Girls just have a TM. No progress item today. We can see what that TM is. It is Foresight. Given the role of the Kimono Girls in the Gen 2 remakes, that is a little bit of irony there. There's the Dig TM for Vice. He can teach Dig if he so chooses and be able to just escape without having to use an escape rope. And Vice will have access to 6 items here in this part of Mount Mortar, 2 being on these ladders and 4 being locked behind Strength. Afterwards, I imagine he's going to escape rope out and get the Surf checks in Mount Mortar, which will be 5 checks. Alright, and this will be Waterfall for NooTzin. Or I'm sorry, it's going to be the next check will be Waterfall for NooTzin. Alright, and there's the Rock Smash TM. Although it's not in logic yet, Vice does have access to Rock Smash, can check all the Rock Smash items. Yeah, in order for Rock Smash to be in logic, you have to get the Squirt Bottle and fight the Sudowoodo Pokemon and talk to the man that would normally give you the Rock Smash TM. Then you can buy it in the Goldenrod Mart. Vice deciding to get the Fly Point for Mahogany before going back into Mount Mortar. Meanwhile, NooTzin deciding to go up the lighthouse now. So we will be seeing some fresh checks there. Vice picking up the bicycle, now having 2 bikes. That doesn't really mean anything, but having 2 bikes is better than 1, I suppose. Yeah, regardless of whether or not NooTzin finds anything in the lighthouse, Vice can fly back to Olivine at any time to pick it up, so it's no significant time loss for not doing it now. Alright, does not seem there's any key items in the surf portion of Mount Mortar. He will be flying back to Mahogany. As they have 7 badges and strength, they are able to check all of the checks to the east of Mahogany, that being on Route 44 into the Ice Path, into Blackthorn, into Route 45. So there are a lot of checks that are available to both runners here. Additionally, since Vice has cut, he can go on ahead and check these cut checks over in Lake of Rage. He will also, since he is in Lake of Rage, technically, he is able to get the fly point and save on the movement in order to wake up the, or rather to encounter this shiny Gyarados. NooTzin finding the item finder, this will help him hopefully find some items. Rare candy for Vice. And there's the Silverwing for Vice. That'll let him potentially encounter a level 60 Pokemon in the Whirl Islands once he gets that Whirlpool HM. He may or may not decide to switch off of the Ampharos to get onto the level 60. I think that would probably be a decent idea. Today we have shiny eggs. They are a kind of gross green color, look a bit rotten. I would not personally eat those eggs. Alright, and looks like NooTzin not finding anything substantial in the lighthouse. Meanwhile, Vice will be moving on, doing all these quick checks on the way towards the Ice Path into Blackthorn into Route 45. There's the secret potion for Vice. Vice now has access to the Jasmine gym leader fight after clearing the lighthouse. Unfortunately, this means NooTzin will have to take a second trip up the lighthouse if he wants to encounter Jasmine. Alright, looks like NooTzin also deciding to go on ahead and get the Kimono Girls out of the way. Vice checking that TM Sing, it's not something he wants to keep, and resetting it away. Alright, so Vice is making his way through the ice path as NooTzin about halfway done with the Kimono Girls. So far, nothing substantial in the ice path either, but there's still a lot of checks left even after the ice path. You can get some checks into Route 45 as well as the Dark Cave on the Blackthorn side, and having that TM for Rock Smash can also grab the items in the Violet side of Dark Cave. That being said, Vice just found the Boulder Badge in the ice path. Very good find. Looks like Vice is deciding not to check the Dark Cave quite yet, instead heading over towards Route 45, gonna do these checks going down the hill. There's the Rising Badge. That will allow Vice... Oh, there's the Marsh Badge as well, wow. Yeah, so Rising Badge will allow waterfall access for Vice. He does have the waterfall HM. He'll be able to finish up the checks in Mount Mortar. Meanwhile, I'm going to go on ahead and preemptively switch the audio over to NooTzin for the time being so that we will get a chance to hear those roamers when he's finished with this rival battle. Ooh, Zap Cannon from the Vaporeon. Not something you necessarily want to see. There's the Squirt Bottle for Vice. That puts the Rock Smash checks in logic. Which is actually very convenient, considering he will have a chance to check the Rock Smash checks here in just a minute without having to fly all the way back to Violet. Unfortunately, getting an encounter here. Tyrogue is the Rock Smash Pokemon. All right, let's give a listen to those roamers. Let's see if we have any guesses in chat. All right, does chat have any guesses as what those might be? I'll be honest, I have the memory of a goldfish, and I forgot all of them already. All right, and it looks like Vice will be going ahead and doing these waterfall checks as NooTzin makes his way into Mount Mortar for the first time. We have a guess in chat, Baby Electrode Persian. Possibly. I actually completely forgot what I heard before, so I won't be able to confirm nor deny. Alright, both runners making their way through Mount Mortar. NooTzin checking the strength checks as Vice checks the waterfall checks. There's the lost item for Vice. He can turn that in Saffron City for a very quick fetch quest check. Now, as we approach the 1 hour 45-minute mark, it seems that Vice is 5 badges and 2 Pokegear parts away from Go mode. NooTzin still has quite a bit of catching up to do, but there is absolutely still a race here. NooTzin can very well catch up at really any point if Vice is starting to encounter some problems. Looks like Vice realizing he already checked the strength checks. Nothing other than the lost item in the back of Mount Mortar. Here's Vice is deciding to check the pseudo-wudo, I imagine. Or no, he's probably going to do this cut check first. Alright, NooTzin is finishing up his voyage through Mount Mortar. Should be entering Mahogany pretty soon. It'll be interesting to see if NooTzin decides to go on ahead and do the Rocket Hideout, as Vice decided to skip it. And Vice selling a lot of his TMs, getting that sweet, sweet cash. Alright, let's check out what the pseudo-wudo is this run. Alright, it's just a Spinnerack. Unfortunately for NooTzin, not able to avoid the spinner there. Vice getting a rare candy from the Rock Smash Man. And it looks like Vice is returning to Olivine. Going to climb the lighthouse. He will have the secret potion, and so he has an advantage over NooTzin in that he does not need to take a second trip up the lighthouse in order to see what Jasmine has to offer in from her 2 checks. Alright, and we're about to see the rotten eggs on NooTzin's side. One Ember, enough to take out the Execute with a super effective move. Getting the good rod from the check. Let's see what NooTzin decides to do. He does not have cut, or he does not have the Hive badge, rather, so he is unable to check the other cut lock checks here in Lake of Rage. And he does decide to go back to Mahogany. He may or may not decide to do the Rocket Hideout now, or he may move on towards Route 44, grab all those checks that Vice checked a little bit ago. Yeah, and it looks like Noot deciding not to do the Rocket Hideout just yet. Alright, and that is the secret potion for NooTzin. All right, Vice is just finishing up these lighthouse checks. Has one more check, a fight, and then another check after that, and then we'll be able to see if the secret potion is required for this run. All right, and Vice through the lighthouse will be taking on Jasmine now. Using those PP ups, able to get more PP for the moves. You won't have to poke a center or use an elixir quite as often. Alright, and it looks like Vice is not having too much trouble against Jasmine. Kingdra a bit bulky, but Ampharos is bulkier, and it's no contest. Alright, that's the mystery egg for Vice. A little bit of a logic chain here. We have the secret potion into the mystery egg. We could see a key item on the mystery egg. Instead, it seems that Vice is deciding to check out Cyanwood first. Cyanwood has one quick check being in the pharmacy, and then 3 checks requiring you to defeat Chuck. Meanwhile, NooTzin makes it out of Vice Path and has grabbed the boulder badge. Something interesting to note is that both runners have access to Claire right now, but no Whirlpool HM. Also, I did not see NooTzin pick up the HM07 for Waterfall. I'm assuming he did grab it, though. It was a very quick check in Olivine. But if he did not grab it, chat, please let me know. Alright, Vice, excuse me, going through Chuck's gym. Meanwhile, NooTzin just grabbed the squirt bottle and decides not to check the Violet City side Dark Tunnel checks yet. He is going to go down Route 45 and collect a couple of badges on the way. Alright, NooTzin grabs the Marsh badge, as well as the Rising badge. And it looks like NooTzin is going to tackle the Rock Smash checks from this side of the Violet City Dark Cave. All right, and Vice has made it to Chuck. Meanwhile, NooTzin finishing up these checks here in Dark Cave. Going to be checking this last item here on Route 46, and then we'll see what NooTzin decides to do next. I imagine if he has the Waterfall HM, he'll probably head over towards Mount Mortar and collect the items in the back of Mount Mortar with Waterfall. Deciding to actually do what seems to be the Rising Badge check first. Alright, Vice is through Chuck, only giving a couple of money items, but no important progress. And a Moonstone. Yep, Chuck is not required for the ROM. Neither is the Rising Badge check, it just gives a revive this time. Looks like Vice is deciding to fly back to Mahogany. We'll be doing the rocket hideout sequence. Meanwhile, NooTzin, finally arriving back in Cherry Grove, is going to pick up the Hive Badge here. Yeah, that is something that Vice has had for a while, and unfortunately this is going to mean that NooTzin will be going around checking these cut checks that Vice has already done. Alright, Vice is just doing a couple of the fights here in the Rocket Underground sequence. It is a little bit tedious here. A bunch of low-level Pokemon that you have to fight in a row. And there's quite a few... this place is actually fairly dense with checks, but they are all spread out throughout the hideout. Alright, and Vice is through the rockets over by the entrance. He does have one more scientist he needs to fight. He can flip a switch and then collect a few more items before he has to fight another trainer. It looks like NooTzin is going back for the Rock Smash check here. Or rather the Strength check. Or the Rock Smash check. I believe he already checked the Strength check, if I'm not mistaken. Alright, and it is just a berry, nothing of importance. NooTzin could make an interesting play here, deciding to fight Morty, which Vice has not done yet. Looks like he's deciding not to do that, though. He's going to be going into Mount Mortar to check out those waterfall checks. He will be getting the lost item, which we have not seen what comes from that quite yet. There's the Thunder Badge for Vice. So at least entering the Rocket Underground is required, as there is a badge right by the switch. Morty not required is yet to be seen. Neither runners have gone towards Morty yet. They did already complete the rocket radio tower sequence, and so if they do get that clear bell, they will have access to the Tin Tower without needing to fight Morty. That being said, there are still 6 required items that we are not sure where they are. Those are the Poke Gear and the expansion card, as well as the Rainbow Badge, the Soul Badge, the Volcano Badge, and the Earth Badge. Alright, NooTzin, somewhere in here, will be collecting the lost item, but that is the only item that I believe is in the back of Mount Mortar. Meanwhile, Vice is fighting these trainers for the passwords so that he can get into the room with the Murkrow. It'll be interesting to see when NooTzin decides to turn in the lost item and/or the mystery egg if he eventually finds it, as Vice has not decided to turn in either yet. But they are quick checks. Looks like NooTzin maybe forgot an item. He's going back around to check it. There's the machine part for Vice. Yeah, so Vice can make his way back into the power plant, turn in the machine part, and get a few extra checks out of that. Alright, Vice has defeated both of the password rockets, can make his way towards where the admin is in the back of the base. Alright, and NooTzin has finished up the waterfall checks in Mount Mortar. I am curious to see what he decides to do next. Alright, we have just about 2 minutes ago past the 2-hour mark. So we are potentially approaching near the end of this race, but there are still quite a few key items to go. So we may end up seeing a bit of a longer seed here if some of the important items are locked behind particularly mean checks. NooTzin going back to check the cut lock checks here in the Lake of Rage. Meanwhile, Vice is going to get the password from the Murkrow, Hail Giovanni. It's going to walk all the way back to the Electrode Room. NooTzin nearly done with the checks here in Lake of Rage. As far as I can remember, there were no key items here, so he will need to fly somewhere else to keep looking. Meanwhile, Vice has this one battle left, and then he can check out the electrodes and get the checks here at the end of the rocket underground. I forgot that the Silverwing was in the hidden powerhouse there. So NooTzin will also have the opportunity to look at the level 60 in Whirl Island if he chooses to, once he gets that Whirlpool HM. And NooTzin is beginning his trek through the underground rocket hideout here, where he will be collecting the Thunder Badge and the machine part. Alright, that is a Typhlosion for one of the electrodes. Alright, Pineco for the second electrode. Yet another Pokemon that can go boom. And lastly, we get to see a Pinsir for the final electrode here. Alright, and we will get to see if making his way all the way through the rocket sequence underground was worth it for Vice. First we have an X attack, not necessarily an item you want to see after doing all of these fights. Also, forgetting to mark the fact that both runners have completed the radio rocket sequence. That is something very easy to forget to mark on the tracker. Alright, Vice is starting his fight against Price. Bars. And that is the Thunder Badge for NooTzin. Alright, we didn't get anything important on Price either. Let's see what is up here by the guardhouse. And it looks like actually clearing the rocket hideout is not required for the ROM. Just grabbing that Thunder Badge, potentially grabbing the machine part is required as well. We do not know yet. And it looks like Vice will be entering the Burn Tower here. We'll be checking these couple of items and releasing the roamers, so we'll get another chance to listen to them for those who may have missed it the first time. Right, and with Vice coming here, there's a good chance that he will be fighting Morty next. So we can find out for sure if Morty is a scam or not for this run. Well, I'm not sure about the first one, but I actually disagree with chat about the last one being, or the electrode. I actually think that is a potentially either a Metapod or a Kakuna. Not sure which one, but I believe the electrode is more like dur, 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 and that was more like dur. Alright, and Vice is in Morty's gym. We will find out very shortly whether or not Morty is a scam, or if Morty is not. There is my buddy Electabuzz. Alright, just one more trainer for Vice here before he gets to face off against Morty. Meanwhile, NooTzin making his way towards the end of the rocket underground sequence. Alright, so at this level, Vi should have absolutely zero problems against Morty. So this should be a very quick fight here. Alright, and Vice is through Morty. Let's see what items he decides to give us this ROM. And it looks like Morty is a scam. Just giving a Stardust and TM20. Is TM20 at least good? I guess we'll find out soon. Alright, Vice going to do the Rising Baggage check. Oh, as well as the Mystery Egg. He does have the Mystery Egg now as well. Yeah, as shown before, the Mystery Egg is given out by Jasmine. Turns out the Mystery Egg just gives us some TM16s. 16 is Dragon Breath, 20 is Iron Tail. Looks like Vice will be making his way up towards Victory Road now. Meanwhile, NooTzin finishing up all the checks regarding the regarding the Rocket Underground hideout. So, we'll see what NooTzin decides to do next. Oh, it turns out NooTzin did not do Price yet, so we'll be doing Price first, and then we'll get to see where NooTzin decides to go next. Vice realizing he doesn't have the Whirlpool HM yet, and so he will need to come back to that Whirlpool check later on. Vice taking the opportunity here to get a very quick heal from this house on the route. It acts as a Pokemon Center, but you do not have to watch each of your Pokemon get placed onto a machine. Which saves a lot of time. Alright, and there's the Volcano Badge for Vice. Alright, so it looks like there's a good chance that our next progression item will be in Victory Road. That being said, Vice still hasn't turned in the Pokédoll yet. There's also a few Kanto gym leaders we do have access to that we haven't fought yet. Erica, Surge, Sabrina. You can also fight Misty. We could turn in the machine part. There's still plenty of things for us to do here. Alright, and looks like NooTzin is through Price. We'll get to see what his next move is as he gets out of the gym, realizing Price was just a waste of time. Looks like NooTzin may also be deciding to attempt Morty now. And there's the clear bell. Vice now has access to the 10 tower. That's pretty big. And there's the Earth Badge. Once again in this location. I feel like Earth Badge ends up in this location pretty often. Like this exact check in Victory Road. Kind of interesting. Alright, and Vice deciding to take on the rival here outside of the Elite Four. We'll be getting that fly point in case he does have to come back here later. Could also take the opportunity to buy some full restores if he chooses to. But yes, we could always make the E4 play. It is, you know, getting up there in the time for the ROM, 2:16. One or both of the runners may at some point feel like, okay, I'm way behind. I need to make the E4 play, even though there's still a lot more to check. Interestingly enough, we only have 2 badges left and 2 parts of the Pokegear still remaining to find. Yeah, Wingage pointing out, really hoping to find badges before the Pokegear. Absolutely. If you do find the 2 badges before you find the Pokegear parts, that will guarantee that the progress is not, or the other badges are not in Western Kanto. And so that could save a lot of time. Alright, looks like Vice buying a lot of healing items, 21 full restores, a bunch of revives, a bunch of full heals. He should be good and set for anything that comes across his path at this point. And Vice flying back to Ekritik, about to climb up the 10 tower. Meanwhile, NooTzin facing off against Jasmine, where he will find the mystery egg. Alright, let's see what NooTzin decides to do next. Looks like he will also be making the play towards Victory Road. Oh, looks like he will first be checking the mystery egg item. That's completely understandable. He is making room in his bag just in case he needs to. Alright, now NooTzin will be making... Oh, still deciding what to do. Looks like he will be making his way into Victory Road. Meanwhile, Vice just has one more Sage to fight, and then he will have access to the 10 tower. He'll first have to fight a level 40, and then have a bunch of different things he is able to check. Looks like NooTzin is actually not climbing the waterfall yet. He may be electing to check this item first and then climb the waterfall, or he may just fly away, decide to check something else first. And Vice is through. We get to listen to the roamers once again and confirm what the third roamer is. All right, so yeah, I believe this is Scyther. Yeah, this is Scyther. I heard Metapod. I'm pretty sure that's Metapod, actually. And then the third one, or the first one, rather, I want to say Jump Pluff or Skip Plume. Alright, we have a Headbutt TM. And an escape rope. No progress yet in the Tin Tower, but we still have many, many checks to go. In addition, once we finish up the Tin Tower here, we also get 4 checks in the Ho-Oh Chamber in the Ruins of Val, so that'll be an extra 4 checks. There's the Volcano Badge for NooTzin. Yeah, not too far behind, NooTzin will be grabbing the Clear Bell and the Earth Badge in Victory Road. Alright, and Vice, he did save before going up here. Looks like he will be deciding to keep the rare candy, though. He could have save reset that away, but that rare candy is pretty nice to keep around. NooTzin finding the Clear Bell. Alright, but unfortunately for Vice, still no progress items here in the tower. And, again, Commentator's Curse, as soon as I say that, there's the Soul Badge, as well as the Earth Badge for NooTzin. Alright, the best case scenario for Vice here is finding the Rainbow Badge very, very soon before finding the other parts of the Pokegear. That will severely cut down on the number of checks that Vice has left to check. And the Ho-Oh today is a Ladian. Meanwhile, NooTzin will be following Vice up the tower. As we've seen, there is a badge in here, so it is required to go up here. And Vice will be making his way into the Ho-Oh chamber. Although there is a badge in the tower, there is not any progress items, so it doesn't really unlock any other checks. All it did was just give us a badge. So it's really up to what's in this Ho-Oh chamber, whether or not this was the move that needed to happen right now, or if there was a chance we could have just put it off for later. There is a chance that we see both parts of the Pokegear in the Ho-Oh chamber. All right, so we found Whirlpool and the red scale. The red scale is another one of those fetch quest items that we still have yet to check. Because we can still check out the Poké Doll. But, yeah, the red scale we can turn in for an item. The Poké Doll we can turn in for an item. But more importantly, that Whirlpool allows Vice to go on ahead and go into the Whirl Islands. The Whirl Islands having a good number of checks. If we are fortunate enough, Vice may decide to bless us, let us see what that level 60 is. At this point, I don't know if he would decide to switch off of the Ampharos. It has a lot of static speed, and at this point, that's the speed problem with Ampharos is not that big a deal. We can use X speed if absolutely necessary, but it's also pretty bulky, so may decide to just stick with the Ampharos, but also, we might at least be able to see what it is. He is heading down there first, so we will find out pretty soon if he decides to let us see what it is. Alright. And it looks like Vice will be going down there to see what it is, at least. At the very least, as Wingage pointed out, it could be a backup Pokemon in case Red's lead is a bad matchup for the Ampharos. Alright. That is a Squirtle. You know, not a terrible Pokemon. You give it a couple of rare candies, it will be a Blastoise. It will get that Stab Surf as well. It has Flamethrower. Looks like it will have a moveset if you decide to evolve it all the way into Blastoise. And also has a significant level advantage over the Ampharos. This could be a switch. Alright. Checking out all these items here in Whirl Island as NooTzin makes his way up the Tin Tower. Vice finding the Super Rod, can fish for level 40s. Looks like just a couple of items left to check here in Whirl Island. If nothing's, no key items are here, this place will be a dud as far as progression goes. But catching that Squirtle that can quickly evolve into a Blastoise might be worth it. And it looks like there is nothing in the Whirl Island. Vice is going to be checking out the red scale check here over by Mr. Pokemon's house. Alright, and it looks like the red scale was nothing. Let's see where he decides to go next. Yeah, it looks like he is going towards Celadon now. Yeah, probably going up here to maybe buy some TMs, but more importantly, buy the X items he will need to finish the run. At this point, the run is basically devolved into a needle in a haystack situation where other than the fact that getting both of the Pokegear parts will unlock Western Kanto, we essentially have 3 key items here that... yeah, a little bit overkill on the X items. We essentially have 3 required items, and that's all we have left to find are just the Rainbow Badge, the Pokegear, and the expansion card. And any of those items can be basically anywhere. Alright, and with NooTzin grabbing the Soul Badge there, both runners only have 1 badge left to go before they have all 16. They will need to collect the other 2 parts of the Pokegear as well, but I mean, at this point, it is still very much anyone's race. All comes down to who checks the right checks when. Vice deciding to go on ahead and take on Janine, the easiest of the Kanto leaders, and the one you're probably going to want to take care of first, especially if you have Fly, so you can get out of Fuchsia easily. Janine's Pokemon are in the mid to high level 30s, which is much lower than the rest of the Kanto gym leaders, and she gives 2 items, the only other Kanto gym leader to give 2 items being Erica. Alright, NooTzin finished up the tower, and we'll be heading into the Ho-Oh chamber. Where he will pick up the Red Scale and HM06. Alright, and looks like Janine not giving us the progress that we need. At this point, we know that the Red Scale is not required to finish. Whirlpool, we know that Whirl Island is not required, but we still have the 1 Whirlpool check in Tojo, as well as the Dragon's Den, 3 checks in there that are locked behind Whirlpool. So whether or not Whirlpool is required is still up in the air. Alright, looks like Vice is heading into Saffron. We'll be able to turn in the lost item. We can check out what that is. While NooTzin is doing the Ho-Oh chamber, we'll be collecting that HM06 and the Red Scale. Oh, that is huge. Finding the Rainbow Badge on the lost item check. Yes, that is very big. So that means that the last 2 Go Mode items... sorry, the tracker for some reason did not pick up my input on the Rainbow Badge, but there it goes. Yeah, so the last 2 items to collect are the expansion card and the Pokegear itself, neither of which can be in Western Kanto. So this really cuts down on the amount of potential checks in which those items can be. Very interesting ROM indeed. We don't see that very often where we collect all the badges before finishing up the Pokegear, especially when we have 2 pieces of the Pokegear left, not just 1. That does mean if NooTzin, for whatever reason, ends up finding the 2 parts of the Pokegear before finding the Rainbow Badge, he may be led on a wild goose chase, checking all of those Western Kanto checks before deciding to turn in the lost item. That being said, lost item's a very quick check. I don't see that necessarily happening. But yeah, at this point, really we just have, NooTzin not going out quite far enough to be able to dodge that optional. But at this point, we just have the Kanto leaders as well as the machine part checks and the Nugget Hedge Maze, I believe, and E4, of course. Now, a Pokegear part locked behind E4 would make the seed very, very sad. Alright, so we have Vice going through the rock tunnel again, making his way towards the machine part check, where he can turn that in and get a few extra items on the way. NooTzin very carefully dodging that spinner there. That spinner has 6 Pokemon. You definitely do not want to hit it. Wingage pointing out that likely Claire holding on to at least one of the parts. That's also true. I completely forgot. They haven't done Claire yet. And so they do have the Kanto leaders, the Nugget Hedge Maze, these machine part checks, as well as the Dragon's Den having 5 items. Unfortunate for Vice, he did not save before receiving that Pokedex. He will have the bad menuing. Oh, we see the Pokedex flash. Oh no, it's a disaster. Alright, it seems that the machine part specific checks are not giving us the progress. Vice going into Surge's gym. Meanwhile, NooTzin is just finishing up these Whirl Island checks. He has not looked at the level 60 yet. Curious to see if he decides to look at it or if he just thinks it's not worth the time. He has a very good Charizard with a great moveset, and just decides to not even worth checking. Alright, he does have to go back there at least towards the level 60 in order to grab one more item. Alright, and it looks like NooTzin will be checking out the level 60. All we know about it is a Squirtle, level 60, and it does have Flamethrower. So, give it a couple of rare candies. It's a level 62 Blastoise with Flamethrower and Surf. And you also have a few other really good TMs. Could potentially be a Pokemon to take on Red with. Yeah, it looks like Vice is having to deal with a little bit of shenanigans from Surge, but nothing too bad. Meanwhile, NooTzin, after finishing up Whirl, looks like he will be heading over towards Cyanwood. Or not. Looks like he's actually going back the other way. Oh, no. He is going towards Cyanwood. He just took a little bit of a roundabout path. Meanwhile, looks like Vice, finishing Surge, not finding a Pokegear part. Let's see where he decides to go next. Looks like he can at least check the item here in the gym. he may decide to now is the time to do the Nugget Hedge maze. Alright, and we have NooTzin flying back over towards Cyanwood. Meanwhile, Vice, he just went over to check that one check in there. Looks like he will be going to Claire. This is the best density of checks he can manage right now, being 5 checks here. Several fights to get there, but still less fights than the Nugget Hedge maze. Looks like NooTzin is deciding to stick with the Charizard for now. I think that could be a good call, considering that even though the Squirtle does have the level advantage, first off, you would need to evolve it into a Blastoise for it to really have any comparable stats to the Charizard. And that being said, Charizard, well, I was just about to get to that, Snow Bear. Charizard has much, much better special attack as well as speed, and has the perfect coverage. And so, that level advantage may not be worth it. Yeah, no, Charizard does have that 109 special, which is very, very good. Blastoise, I believe his offenses are somewhere in the mid-80s. I could be a little bit off there, though. Yeah, that being said, even though Charizard is probably the better Pokemon to be running right now, at least getting through these checks, having that Blastoise in the back for Red could be useful, considering Blastoise is superior in the defensive stats. In case, for whatever reason, Red's lead is a real struggle for Charizard, having that Blastoise. Excuse me, having that Blastoise with the level advantage and the better defensive stats could be helpful. Looks like NooTzin is through with Cyanwood, deciding what to do next. Looks like NooTzin will be going into Saffron City, turning in the lost item in order to grab the final badge, the Rainbow Badge. Alright, meanwhile, Vice is through Claire, so he can make his way over towards the Dragon's Den, collect the 5 items there after one very quick fight. Meanwhile, NooTzin looks like he will be going towards Erica. This could be interesting. Erica has 2 checks, and Vice is not gone there yet, so this could be something good for NooTzin here. At this point, it really is anyone's game. If Erica has, for whatever reason, has both parts of the Pokegear, that would put NooTzin straight into go mode. Alright, Vice finding the blue card. Not the key item you want to see here. There are still 4 more checks here in the Dragon's Den. TM31. Yeah, if the one of the Pokegear parts are in this section of the Dragon's Den, we can confirm that the Whirlpool is required in order to finish. Alright, just 2 more opportunities for something to pop up in the Dragon's Den. Meanwhile, NooTzin has just this last battle with Erica, and then, or that last battle, trainer battle before Erica, and then Erica herself. As far as what's left for both runners, as far as items go, both runners just need the Pokegear and the expansion card. As far as checks left, we've got the Nugget Hedge Maze, we've got E4. Looks like the Dragon's Den is barren, no items there. But yeah. Neither runner has faced Sabrina yet, or done the Nugget Hedge Maze, or E4. But other than that, I think both runners together have covered everything else. Oh, and this one Whirlpool check that is kind of off to the side. Yeah, both runners should be fairly close to go mode. It's just a matter of where these last parts of the Pokegear are going to be. Yeah, luckily, since the Pokegear parts are the last items we need to find, this lets us skip Blaine, it lets us skip Blue, lets us skip Brock, as well as several of the items around Viridian City, around Pewter City, and the Viridian Forest, as well as the Route 4 item. Ooh, there's the expansion card on Erica. It is required. Alright, and looks like NooTzin is deciding what to do next. Vice heading into Erica, which is good for Vice. Vice needs to do this in order to pick up the expansion card. This does put NooTzin in an advantageous position, just depending on where he decides to go next. It looks like he's going towards Janine. Yeah, at this point, the only places left for the Pokegear would be on Sabrina, and the Nugget Hedge Maze, on Misty, or on the E4. Vice might have done Sabrina. I'm not sure. I may have missed it. If Vice did do Sabrina, that also just cuts down the checks even further, just to either the Nugget Hedge Maze, Misty, or E4. Actually, now that I think about it, I think Vice did do Sabrina. Yeah, seeing several of these runs all in the same day, you tend to kind of forget some things, or yeah, so there's a good chance that Vice actually did do Sabrina. He did? Ah, yeah, okay. Then yeah, it is, that's right. Thank you, Snowbear. So, then yeah, it is, progress is either in the Nugget Hedge Maze or it's on E4. And thank you for the support in chat. It really means a lot. Yeah, I've been enjoying commentating this race, even doing it by myself. It's been nice, and I'm looking forward to seeing a strong finish from both of the runners, hopefully. Yeah, at this point, we just have the Nugget Hedge Maze, Misty, and E4. So if one of the runners decides to make an E4 play, and that's where the last part of the Pokegear is, that could be the game there. All right, and there's the expansion card for Vice. All right, we are on a scavenger hunt for this last item. Where does Vice decide to go? It looks like he is going to be heading towards the Nugget Hedge Maze. So we know it's either here or it's on the E4. Yeah, bad Sasquatch bringing up in chat that NooTzin does have a lot of checks left. For instance, NooTzin can go declare. So this is, at this point, this is Vice's race to lose, as NooTzin has a lot of quicker checks that he could be checking right now that we know are not going to be the Pokegear. And unfortunately, not going quite far enough on the bridge to be able to skip that optional. Alright, NooTzin checking these items locked by Cut, and one locked by Surf here south of Lavender Town. Let's see where NooTzin decides to go next. Yeah, I absolutely agree, Bad Sasquatch. These randos are so much fun. If you're not already a part of the community, I suggest joining the Crystal Cinco Bingo Discord. This is where we organize a lot of the matches, as well as like not just the tournament matches, but also some casual matches. You can do some full item randos. You could also we could do some bingo matches if you're interested in that as well. Oh, that's awesome! Welcome to the community, Bad Sasquatch. Alright, NooTzin making his way through the rock tunnel. Going to be turning in the machine part pretty soon, I suspect. Meanwhile, Vice just has a couple of battles left here before we check out the checks on the Nugget Hedge Maze. Yeah. If it is not the first two items we see, we will need to fight Misty in order to check her item. And if it's not there, it is time to go to the E4. Really, that is an interesting fact from Snowbear, saying that if the prize guy has the Pokegear, he will not fight you if you have a bag full. I've never encountered that situation, so that would be kind of interesting to see if that's the case. I guess we'll find out. Ah, I see. ERC. First off, shoutouts to ERC. He's the one that made this rando possible, but it seems that ERC is confirming that that is true. There's the Pokegear. That puts Vice in go mode. All right, we don't get to see the fabulous prize, unfortunately, but yeah, the creator of the randomizer, Vice, deciding to check there's a check there that's pretty interesting. For those who don't know, that guy will give you an item if you have 16 badges, which makes it almost useless. There is, yeah, it's not randomized in this, but he's showing it off. We do have various levels of randomization that we can do in this ROM. One of them being called Maximum, or in Nightmare as well. And in those, there is an option to randomize the 16 badge guy. Very rarely will you get an item off of him, but if you happen to be in a situation like we're in now, where we get all 16 badges before getting all the parts of the Pokegear, there is a chance that the Pokegear part could be on that man, and that would make for a very interesting location for that item. Alright, and Vice is making his way to Pallet Town. To be honest, I completely missed what the Snorlax was. I wasn't even paying attention. Meanwhile, NooTzin is fighting Sabrina. Ah, it's a Victory Bell. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, Victory Bell, pretty decent mon. Decent offensively, but at this point, you already have your Ampharos, which should be perfectly fine. You have the Squirtle that can evolve into Blastoise if, for whatever reason, the matchup is just absolutely garbage for the Ampharos. So I think Vice should be fine here, but we've seen some pretty nasty reds in this tournament. So there is a chance that Vice could be stuck on red for a hot minute. That being said, with the particularly difficult red fights, we have seen huge comebacks from people that enter Go mode later on. And so, although it looks like Vice is pretty set to win this, believe it or not, still anyone's game. If NooTzin decides to go towards the Nugget Hedge Maze. Alright, teaching Crunch and, let's see, using the rare candies as well. Looks like NooTzin is deciding to, do Surge next. Ampharos learning Lovely Kiss by Level Up. That's a sleep move. Not the most accurate. Alright, and it looks like, using all the candies on the Ampharos, that could pose a problem if you need to evolve the Squirtle for whatever reason. Alright, and leading a Victory Bell. I mean... Yeah, ooh, Leech Seed. A little bit of passive damage, but nothing too scary. More than anything, it's just kind of an annoying time waste. Another one of those animations that you can't turn off. You're gonna see it every time. Oh no, Wingage. Oh, and that's a crit from the Victory Bell. Unfortunately, Vice will be resetting that and attempting the fight once again. Also, we are at the 3-hour mark, just about. Ooh, Stun Sport and Leech Seed. Looks like this Victory Bell, for the most part, not very threatening. It does have that Hyper Fang, but for the most part, should be fine for the Ampharos. More annoying thing is if you are going to get that Leech Seed, it will be an animation you have to watch every turn. Alright, at this point, At this point, I am a little bit concerned for the Ampharos here. Okay, good. Healing it off. At that point, I believe the Hyperfang was in crit range. Yeah, see, there you go. Very timely heal from the to the Ampharos there. If that crit would have came any sooner, he would have had to try that setup once again. All right. And it looks like now all those X speeds, X specials, this is probably going to clean sweep for Vice here. Anything could still happen, but yeah, it looks like NooTzin is actually making his way to the E4. Or no, he might just be checking this Whirlpool item first. But at this point, I wouldn't blame NooTzin if he thinks about E4 being required. Looks like Vice has finished. GG to Vice, finishing with a time of 3:01:45. All right, that Ampharos is having very low special. Unfortunate to see there. All right, yeah, get your GGs out for Vice. Congratulations. We should be getting Vice in here for an interview pretty soon. And looks like NooTzin has forfeited the race. All right. Yeah, I'd say a very good run from both runners here. Okay, we should have Vice coming in here in just a second. All right, welcome Vice and GG.
Thanks. That was quite the ROM.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just over 3 hours, almost a 100% seed.
Right.
How do you feel?
I feel pretty good. I thought I did pretty well in my routing. I don't know. Ampharos really did really well for me.
Yeah, yeah, I was a little concerned at first. Ampharos has a very, very low speed stat, and
Yeah.
it looked like it was giving you a little bit of trouble at first, but towards the middle of the game and the end of the game, at that point, the low base speed didn't matter after the level advantage, so it worked out for you.
Yeah, that is the one disadvantage of running an Ampharos, is that it is very slow, but luckily it hits hard enough that it usually doesn't matter.
Yeah, something interesting. As NooTzin was, I believe it was NooTzin. It might have been you, where doing something around Cherry Grove later on in the run, didn't repel and ended up finding a Typhlosion and something
really?
that, yeah, and the Typhlosion, there was one earlier in the game, I believe in the Violet City Gym or something, that had Earthquake. So you could have had a Earthquake Typhlosion.
Wow. That'd have been pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, but regardless, though, the Ampharos did its job. NooTzin also ran the Ampharos for a little while before deciding to switch to the Charmeleon and evolve it into Charizard.
Okay, yeah. Basically, by the time I went to Cycling Road, I'd already committed to the Ampharos, and I just needed HM friends.
Right,
That's why I went there.
Totally understandable. Just one second here. All right, NooTzin posted a message for me letting me know that he will be skipping the interview, but he wants to say thank you for the game and GG's.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That was...
Yeah. Apparently he doesn't speak much English, so he'll probably be interviewing over I believe it's the Portuguese.
Yeah, Portuguese. Yeah, the
Portuguese.
SpeedGaming Portuguese.
Yeah, SpeedGaming Portuguese. So I imagine he'll be interviewing over there. But
Yeah.
in case he listens to this back, GG's to you, NooTzin. You did put up a good run, and it was honestly very close.
Was it? I was getting really nervous because anytime it gets to like 3 hours on 100% seed, it's like, man, this could go either way.
Yeah, no, it could have gone either way because uh basically for one, the seed, very interestingly, you got all 16 badges before finishing up uh the Poke Gear.
Right. That's and not only did I have 16 badges before finishing the Poke Gear, I was missing two pieces. I was missing both the
Yeah,
Poke Gear itself and the expansion card, which I don't think
right.
I've ever had happen before. I've
Yeah, that was pretty
definitely
interesting. And
I've definitely been missing one piece before, but not two. That was
yeah,
strange.
and not only that, NooTzin was in exactly the same position. Uh, and you went to check Claire, and he didn't. And he actually got the expansion card before you did because he went to Erica first. So there was a chance there that NooTzin could have, if he would have went to the Nugget Hedge Maze after that, he would have been in go mode before you.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, I was down to like on it if it wasn't so I had the Nugget Hedge Maze. So the only like the checks I had left at that point were um the Nugget guy, Misty, and then E4. It's like that was all I had left.
Right. Yeah.
It was gonna be interesting. I was really hoping it wasn't an E4 seed.
Yeah. NooTzin had a lot of checks left, which kind of deterred him from doing the Nugget Hedge Maze. Um, but regardless, at least in the mid game, that switch to the Charizard definitely helped him out. He had Surf and Ice Beam on it, uh, so up through the radio tower, at least he was able to clear that a bit faster than you since he wasn't getting outsped as much.
Right. Did he do it as early as I did?
Oh, roughly the same time, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably the earliest radio tower I've ever done. Like doing radio tower before I even have access to North Johto. That was weird. But
Yeah,
one thing I did notice, and once I found the SS ticket, like once I'd found the SS ticket and I'd done almost everything in South Johto, I kind of knew where Fly had to be because of the Fly logic that's baked into the tournament rules. So
yeah,
I knew it. I was pretty sure it had to be in Kanto somewhere, and luckily I found it in
yeah,
Rock
and
Tunnel.
yeah, I believe NooTzin followed that exact logic a lot. I would say that for the most part, especially up until the end game, NooTzin was following very closely behind you.
Okay.
Um, the the main difference is that you actually went back and got the Hive badge early,
hmm
whereas he did not do that.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I when 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 we got surf access so early, like before leaving Violet, like if I'd gotten surf access in Azalea, I probably wouldn't have done that. Not that early. But since it's like one town over, I'm like I can save some of this. I can save here, go check all those things, then come back. And luckily there was something in Cherry Grove.
Yeah. That being said, it ended up that cut was not needed before Fly, and so it didn't really affect the run that much.
Right.
But there was definitely like kind of a sitting on the edge of your seat sort of situation where I was like, "Ooh, what if cut it or what if Fly's behind cut? That's gonna really put NooTzin behind." Um, but yeah. Let me think. I think there was something else I wanted to comment on, but it is escaping me at the moment. There is one thing. The Vermilion Surf encounters. So NooTzin did end up checking those. All he found were Paris at
Oh,
level 35.
well, as Legends Arceus has taught us, those are the most aggressive Pokemon.
Oh yeah, for sure. Very aggressive. Very frail though.
Yeah, but by the point, I got, I probably could have tried to look for a new main, like either on Cycling Road, like doing that Charizard, or checking Vermilion Water. But I like Ampharos. Ampharos is up there in my list of favorite Pokemon. So
Yeah.
with an Ampharos with a pretty good moveset, with well, it started with um, Ice Punch, and then getting Surf so early and having an Ice Beam TM, it's like, well, this is doable. I can work with this.
Absolutely.
If there had been Thunderbolt though, there was Zap Cannon, but I don't like Zap Cannon.
Yeah, I did notice another electric move, I believe, in the Goldenrod Mart that said it may paralyze.
Was it?
I
Wasn't well. It said it said a move, and from my experience here, I'm gonna go check it because I can.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It might be body slam, but I'm
Well,
not nearly as familiar with the TM descriptions.
so a lot of times if it says a move that something something, it means it's a status move. If it's a damage move, it'll say an attack. So
Okay,
I
that
think
makes
it's
sense.
probably gonna be like glare or stun spore or something.
That's true. That's very yeah, that makes sense.
So
Well, while you're
30,
checking
30.
that out, I
It was
also
glare.
it was glare.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. That's why I didn't bother looking at it. Is because I was
that
pretty
makes
sure it
sense.
was a
Yeah.
status move.
Okay, well that's something I learned today. A couple more things I just thought about. I wanted to ask you. First off, seeing that Squirtle for the level 60, uh, were you at all considering that?
I was considering it as a backup in case I ran into something like was absolutely walled by something like on red. Like let's say red led an Aerodactyl with Earthquake or something. Um, like that was like on the back burner as a possibility. But the thing with Blastoise is he's very tanky, but doesn't have a lot of power.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
He's not bad. It's just not
Not
strong.
not great.
Yeah.
It did have flamethrower though, which was you
Oh,
know,
did it? Oh no, it used it on me. It did use that on me, I think.
yeah. That was the main reason I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Um, at that point, like I think if you would have gotten it a bit earlier, maybe, but uh, yeah.
Yeah, it
So
was. I caught it just as like a backup, just in case I needed another high level, or did end up deciding to switch once I got to red or something.
yeah, that makes sense. And one more thing I thought about. So I realized, or I noted in the run that in the Waterstone Chamber there was the Zephyr badge, which was your flash access,
Right.
and then immediately was able to uh,
To the
go
flash
to the flash
chamber.
chamber and get the storm badge. Uh, not really any questions behind that. Just that was kind of a satisfying bit of progression.
Right. Yeah, I thought so too. I was like, well, I have flash, but I don't have Zephyr badge. It'd be really funny if Zephyr badge was in the Waterstone chamber, and then it was. I was actually laughing when that happened. I was like, wow, I can't believe that actually happened.
Yeah. I do like seeing little tiny progression chains like that pop up. Really, makes the randomizer, I guess, feel, I don't know how to put it, maybe less random and more planned out.
Right. Yeah, that was the thing I was trying to think of, is that we got Flash pretty early, at least the HM for it. We had Surf pretty early. We had Strength pretty early. So so I'm like, well, there's a lot of dark areas we could go to. There's Dark Cave, although we didn't have Rock Smash yet, and then there's Rock Tunnel. So it's like I was kind of guessing that Flash access was going to be soon, based on that, especially that early game when there weren't a lot of checks to do.
Right. Yeah, you were
Because
kind of
North
running
Johto
out.
was locked off.
Yeah. Um, all right. Well, since it's just us, do you have anything else you want to say?
It was fun. I'm glad it worked out. It's a good race. I'll have to watch it back to really see how close it was.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be a good watch. All right. With that being said, GG to you, GG to your opponent NooTzin,
Yeah,
and
and
yeah,
thank you for the commentary.
of course, yeah, it was very fun. My first time solo commentating, and I had a good time. It ended up not being too bad. All right. Well, as we end things here, I do want to remind people of the schedule for the next couple of days. Tomorrow we have Oddly versus Vixis. We have, or Vilks. Some of these names are kind of hard to pronounce. We have Mr. Holmes versus Raylan Tagir. We have Furious Magic versus Machu Midori. And Zen Ninebur versus Horse. Those are all going to be tomorrow. And then the next day, we just have one match. It's going to be Wiser versus Baby K. So I hope you stick around for those. Otherwise, thank you to the Speed Gaming for letting us host our tournament here, as well as the restreamers, as well as the, I believe, Portuguese SpeedGaming for also hosting this match for our other players speaking different languages, and yeah, and I believe that's it. So y'all have a good night, and I hope to see you guys later in another run.
And just a reminder, don't drop the stream quite yet.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, okay, just making sure.
Oh yeah, no, I remember.